right, today we have the story for Marisa Teresa Landa. She was Miss Mexico and she killed her husband. So, this is the first Miss Mexico, and we will explore why she killed her husband, a general. So, she was a young woman, 18 years old, from Mexico, and she made history after winning the title Miss Mexico in May of 1928. And she was the first contest for the most beautiful woman in the country, and she had the crown. This was Maria Teresa Landa. She was born October 15, 1910, and she was the daughter of a very nice middle-class family who sent her to pursue her studies in a state school. And she was beautiful and intelligent. And she made history after winning the title Miss Mexico. And she had beautiful hairstyle. She had dark hair, dark brown eyes, very beautiful light skin, and just very, very beautiful for the time. And just everyone admired her, and they were spellbound. So her family taught her to study art and pursue studies in a state school. And she loved learning, and she was very intelligent. So at a young age, she graduated from La Escuela Normal and became a qualified orthodontist. Oh, so very smart. And so her grandmother passed away, and when they attended the funeral, that's where she would meet a very handsome general, General Moises Fidel, and he was 34 years old and a revolutionary. So Fidel and Maria Teresa Landa began a relationship after the meeting. You could say it was love at first sight. They were seen out about the city, and they just enjoyed each other's company. They went to restaurants, and the teenager's parents thought there was an age gap, and they also were concerned about the general's lower class level. But when she won Miss Mexico, she would need to go to Galveston, Texas, to represent Mexico City in the International Beauty Contest. And this was back then. And so Maria wore a beautiful bathing suit for a photo shoot, and it caused a lot of commotion, especially back then. Her photo shoot and her bathing suit, Mexican conservative groups called her ambitious and shameless, and a lot of adjectives that are opposite of, well, she's got a great figure, she's beautiful, she was born beautiful. And so this caused an uproar, and her pictures were in the papers. There was a lot of press coverage. So the photographers loved her, the United States loved her, and she didn't win Miss anything other titles. So she didn't get the crown when she went to Texas, but she was offered many job offers, high-paying job offers in the States. But Teresa, she just wanted to return home to Mexico and return to her true love, the General Fidel. So her goal was to go back to her special loved one, and it seemed to be important back then, relationships. So we find it interesting that she had many job offers, high-paying job offers after the contest, but she just wanted to return to Mexico and return to her love, which is great. So she returned back to Mexico, and she married the general, and they moved into her parents' house. And the general was very strict, and he was very jealous. And so Maria was kind of stifled, and she couldn't go out, and he had an eye, and he was very jealous, especially after all the newspapers that showed her in the bathing suit. He didn't want her to talk to men or anything. So they lived with her parents in the same house. And then on August 25th, 1929, in the downstairs room, the general was reading a newspaper and he had his pistol next to him. And Maria woke up and walked downstairs and she saw the newspaper. And in the newspaper, it was revealed that the general, her husband, Vidal, was married to someone else, and his first wife had accused her husband of bigamy and adultery. And Maria was looking at the newspaper with her photo and her bathing suit, accusing her and her husband of this horrible, horrible accusations. And she was stunned to find out she gave up everything, all these offers to come back to Mexico, to marry her true love, and to find out the general, her husband, was not only a liar and had lied to her, but he was also married to someone else, and that he was committing bigamy and adultery, and she was also in the middle of it. And this was just so distressing to her. And also, the first wife was Maria Teresa. And he had married her in Veracruz in 1923, and he also had 2 children. So how was it possible that he could marry her when he had a wife and 2 kids and wouldn't tell her this? And she was just so upset. She was heartbroken, and her husband had a Smith & Wesson's .44 caliber pistol right there on his desk, and she took it and was so distraught that she threatened to end her life. She's like, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to kill myself. She was so distraught. Like this, her mind was racing. It was embarrassing. This was awful. And Vidal tried to persuade his wife to put the gun down, and she, in the midst of the emotions and the anger and the turmoil and just so angry at him, she's looking at someone she didn't even know. Like, how could he have lied to her? She just fired 6 shots, and 2 of the bullets hit the general's face, and the other 4 hit his body. So she, nonetheless, was arrested, and she was very quiet. They said she'd only speak to the judge and her lawyer. And so a former minister of public instruction, Jose Maria Lanzo, would defend Maria Landa. And they would come up with a defense, and they would say she was a victim of society and abuse from the general. And in the court, she always wore all black clothing, and thousands of people turned up to listen and come to the trial, Miss Mexico trial. And the prosecutor, painted Maria. She was a shameless killer. She was immoral. Oh, look at her. And they showed the photos of her wearing scantily clad clothing. I mean, look at her in these, bikinis, and look at her, So they're campaigning to show her wild ways. But Lozano was also known as the Prince of Speech. And they were going to say it was self-defense and that she was consumed by grief, by the dishonor that the General Vidal's adultery had brought to her. And also, it was reported that Maria Teresa's beauty had a very hypnotic effect on the people. And they all looked at her. She dressed in the court, and she was very beautiful. And they watched her, and she made a speech, and the public was cheering and clapping, and the jury decided that this former beauty queen did indeed act in self-defense. And, most likely was an accident and her emotional turmoil, and she was found not guilty. So, the crowned beauty queen, Miss Mexico, Maria Teresa Lena, walked away a free woman. And so, you're wondering what happened. So Maria then led a private life after there. She never remarried, and then she devoted the rest of her life to teaching history at school in Mexico City. So seems like this love was really heartbreaking for her, and this whole experience was really terrifying, and probably couldn't trust another guy again after that. Imagine you're be hard to trust anyone, and then seeing how angry you'd be at love. So maybe, what do you think? This was this story of love, of a love lost, a love. And the dad said it'd be a marriage of Venus and Mars. So thank you for listening, and we hope that you'll listen to more stories and enjoy them.